शुक्लां भरतरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करभावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानामेकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्जसम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீர்யம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாவிவ சம்பிரக்தௌ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தயே ஜகதः பிதரௌ வந்தே பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வரௌ. ஸ்ரீ பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வராभ्यां நமः. कोमलं कूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचर गुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैर्नभ्यर्थितानपि अर्थान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुवमभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशीविभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടുമീറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞനെ കുമ്പീടേണ്ടതോരു പ്രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കനായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good morning, everyone. Already, so let's just see. So we are supposed to do a review of 85, right? Let me see who I had. Ramya, can you do one half, and then let's see.
Sorry, Rajesh, I did not prepare for today.
See, Vijaya, Neenga Pandrela, Vijaya, Srividya, any of you want to do one half, and then
85 na pannava?
Neenga Pandrela, okay, sure, Martin, you can do one half.
Rombalam theriyadu, but I'll try the whole thing.
Yeah, you can do the first half, yeah.
Okay. Om Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namah. Dasakam 85. Tato magato bhubrata chira nirodha sankleshitam shatataka yuta dviyam mesha bhumi vratham ananta sharanayate kamapi purusham prahinot ayachatase magata shapana meva kimbuyasa iya surabhi magatam tadanu narado diritat yudhishthiramo makodhyamad ubhayakarya paryakulaha viruddha janiyad virat ubhaya siddhur ityudhave shasham susinijas samam purami etya yaudhishtirim.
And the Sasam Shushi, there's a pause.
I
Okay?
will come past pulla, sorry.
Okay, no worries. Keep going.
Ashesha daitya yute toivi samagate dharmajo vijitya sahajair mahim bhavadapanga samvarditaihi shriyam nirupamam vahan nahaha bhaktadasyayitam
Dasayitam. Dasayitam.
dasayitam bhavantam ayi magate prahitavan vansa bhimarjunam giri vrajapuram gatastadanu deva yoyam trayo yaya cha samarotsavam dvijamishena tam magatam apurna sukrutam tvamam pavana jena sangramayan nirikshya sahajishnuna tumapi raja yudva sitaha ashanta samarodatam pitapa patana samnyaya nipatya jarasasutam pavana jene nishpatitam vimuchya nrupatin muda samanuvritya bhaktim param diteshitagata spuran apicha dharma guptai puvaha.
You can stop there, Matanya. Halfway. Sorry, Vijay, are you doing, or is this Radha Garu you can do?
Yeah, I can do.
Okay, go ahead, Sridhar.
Sorry, prepare right. I'm so sorry. Next time.
Go ahead, Sridhar.
Okay. Prachakrushi yudhishthire tadanu rajasuyatvaram prasanna pridaki bhavat sagala raja kavyakulam tmamabhyayi jagatpade dvijapada manojhadikam shakarta kimu katyate nribavarasya bhagyonnadihi.
See, with the third line, Dvija Pada Vane Jadikam. You said Vano, Pada Vane.
Dvija Pada Vane Jadikam Shagarta Kimu Katyate Nribavarasya Bhagyonnadihi Tadasavana Karmani Pravaramagriya Pujavitim Vicharya Shahadeva Vaganugada Dharmatmajagha Vedatta bhavate muda sadasi vishva bhudatmane tada shashuramanusham bhuvanameva triptim tadau tadashabati chedipo muninribeshu dishtat svaho sabhajayati ko jada pashu padur durudham vatum idhi tvaisha durvacho vidati mutvamannasanat udha padatu udayutas samapadan namum pandavaha nivarya nija pakshakana निजपक्षकान् अभिमुखस्य विद्वेषिणः त्वमेव जहृषे शिरो तनुजधारिणा स्वारिणा जनुस्तृतीय लब्ध्या सततचिन्त्या शुद्धधीः द्व्याच परमेघताम् अधृतयोगिनां दुर्लभाम्.
Within the third line, can you just repeat? Janustritaya labdhaya.
Labdhaya. Okay. Janustritaya labdhaya shadadachindya
Chintaya. For the full ta. Chintaya.
Chintaya. Okay.
Yeah.
Janustritaya labdhya shadadachindya shuddhadihi dvaya cha paramegatam adhritayoginam durlabam tadasumahite dvya कृतुवरे निरूढे जनो ययौ जयति धर्मजो जयति कृष्ण इत्यालपन् कलः सदुषुयोतनो तुदमनाः सबत् न श्रिया मयार्पितशभामुखे स्थलजल प्रमाद तदा सहतिद उत्थितम्
Tata hasitam uttitam.
तदा सहसित उत्थितं त्रिपदनन्दना भीमयोः अभाङ्गकलया विभो किमपि तावत् उज्जरुं वयन् तराभरनिराकृतौ शबदि नाम बीजं वपन् जनार्दनमरुत्पुरी निलय पाहि मामयात्. श्रीकृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः.
And the first line, second word, say it again. Hasitam uttitam. I think you said something else there. Tada hasitam uttitam.
Tada hasitam uttitam.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's continue our Kuchila Upakyanam. I think we had finished up to stanza 4. So we'll start from 5. Sujata Garu, you can be a student first half, and then Ramya, you can be a student. So I think we'll do from stanza 5. प्रपूजितं तं प्रियया च वीजितं करे गृहीत्वा कथयः पुरा कृतं यदिन्धनार्थं गुरुदारचोदितैः अपर्तुवर्षं तदमर्षिकानने. So we saw kind of a quick recap, right? So we saw how this person was there, Sudama, and who was extremely poor. And then, then there was his wife one day that reminded him how he should probably go meet with Sri Krishna, who was one of his best friends, and then see what happened. So the Sudama is then going, and they didn't have anything with them. So she had to go and borrow from 4 different neighbors. Each one gave them 1 handful of flattened rice, which she put in her own piece of her own sari and then packed it with Sudama, right? So Sudama then, enters into Dwaraka, and there he sees there are so many people waiting to meet with Sri Krishna that, that he was worried how anybody is even going to let him in. He sees all the things that they have actually gotten. But however, in this case for him, Krishna himself walked out, embraced Sudama, and then took him inside the house. That's kind of where we left last time. So here what happens is Krishna is, on this Kuchela Charitram, you can go Google on YouTube, and you will have these great people, who even Vishaka Harish, if you know her, her Charitram, Kuchela Charitram, she does amazing job. There's so many people who told stories, so I'm not going to go into that level of detail, right, about the impact that happens when Sudama comes to Krishna. But anyway, so he comes, Krishna seats him, and then, Krishna is washing his feet. So Rukmini, who is Mahalakshmi herself, is coming and fanning, Sudama here. So when all the other people who are in the palace are looking at it, they keep wondering, who is this person? He doesn't look like a big king. He doesn't look like some Mahan Sadhu or anybody for whom Krishna and Rukmini are like falling so much. Krishna is washing his feet. Rukmini is, fanning him, and they're applying chandan to his feet. So doing all these things, they keep wondering, who is this person, number one. And number two, what great deed has this person done in his past life that, Krishna himself is actually doing all this to this person. So as they're sitting and, washing all this, then Krishna is holding Sudama's hand. And then he's asking, I know that, you always stick to your Brahmanical roots. You always are, you're not going after money. You're not going after anything. So what happened to you after, after you finished the Gurukul, right? Because they all studied at Sandipani. And, did you get married? I'm sure you are still sticking to your Vedas and everything. Krishna is kind of asking. And Sudama also responds. And then Krishna, like when you old friends meet, you tell your spouse about the stories, right? So that's what Krishna is doing here. So Krishna is telling Rukmini and others that when Sudama and I were students, one day our Guru Sandipani told us to go fetch some firewood. So we went into the forest, and then it became dark. It started raining heavily, because of which, we completely lost track of directions. It was water everywhere, and we couldn't come back at all. And we really thought, that that's it. That's going to be our end, right? Krishna, of course, he's telling about how Sudama must have felt, right? So they felt like they could not come back at all. They were completely stuck. So he talks about how Krishna and Sudama spent their whole night in the forest waiting for somebody to come and rescue them. And finally, in the morning, his Guru Sandipani comes searching for them, and then they recover, right? So he talks about all these stories, right? That how he and Sudama is to spend time together. So, prapujitam tam priyaya cha vijitam, comma, kare grihitva kataya. So it comes together. Grihitva katayaha is there, put a F. Katayaf purakritam. Yadin dhanartam guru dara choditaihi. So the ra that is there, put a visarga, comma, choditaihi, comma. Next word starts with a a. Aparthu varsham tadamarshi kanane. Prapujitam tam priyaya cha vijitam kare grihitva katayah purakritam yadindhanartam gurudara choditaihi apartu varsham tadamarshi kanane.
प्रपूजितं तं प्रियया च बीजितं करे गृहीत्वा कथयः पुराकृतं यदिन्धनार्धं गुरुदारचोदितैः अपर्तुवर्षं तदमर्षिकानने प्रपूजितं तं प्रियया च बीजितं करे गृहीत्वा कथयः पुराकृतं यदिन्धनार्धं गुरुदारचोदितैः अपर्तुवर्षं तदमर्षिकानने
प्रपूजितं तं प्रियया च विजितं करे गृहीत्वा कथयः पुराकृतं यदिन्दनार्थं गुरुदारचोदितैः अपर्तुवर्षं तदमर्षिकानने प्रपूजितं तं प्रियया च विजितं करे गृहीत्वा कथयः पुराकृतं यदिन्दनार्थं गुरुदारचोदितैः अपर्तु वर्षं तदमर्षिकानने.
Stanza 6. Trapajushoshmat prutukam baladatha pragrihya mushtau sakridashite tvaya kritam nanviyate ti sambramat ramakilope tekaram rurodhate. So as they were talking, and then, Krishna is, of course, he has a, Krishna gives Sudama a very grand feast, because Krishna is a Dwaraka-dish, right? So he gives him a very grand feast. And at the end of it, then Krishna goes and asks Kuchela, say, we are meeting after so many years, right? So what gift have you gotten me, right? And then there's a very beautiful slokam in Bhagavatam, which we should all print and keep in our house. And Krishna says that even the smallest gift that somebody is offering me with, with true love, it says patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam. It says you give me any leaf, right, or a flower or water, or or pushpam, toyam, or any fruit, right? Toyam is water, phalam, fruit. You give me any of these things with complete devotion, that's what I absolutely love, right? So he says, you tell me, what have you got? So Sudama, even when he came, he saw that there were all these rich people who had come to meet Krishna, who had got so many gifts. And he looks at the palaces which Krishna is living in and the food that he got served. And then he's wondering, like I'm having, like his wife's end of his wife's sari or cloth. She's tied something, right? And that's what she has, his 4 parched rice there. So he was very shy. So Krishna then looks at it, and then Krishna, of course, who knows what is happening in everybody's mind, he was finding that Sudama was very reluctant to give Krishna anything. So Krishna goes and grabs that out of Sudama's hand and says, "What have you got here?" And then he looks at it and says, "Oh, this is my most favorite. How can you bring this and not give it to me?" Right? And then what he does is he just takes one mushti full of that parched rice, and then he puts it into his mouth. And then he's about to go grab the second one when he says Rama, which is Mahalakshmi, Rukmini is holding Krishna's hand and saying, "Krishna, that's enough for today." Right? I don't think anybody can take you eating more than one hand of rice. Right? He says that is enough. And Rukmini then holds Krishna's hand to stop it, saying, "This much is enough." Right? So Krishna then eats one mushti full of the parched rice that Kuchela had got. Trapa jushosmat prutukham baladata, pragrihya mushtau sakrit ashite, if you want to break it, sakridashite tvaya kritam kritam nanviyateti sambramat, and you put a plus so that that two lines are going to be together. The easy way to break it is sambramat rama kilopete, because you'll have the dra word there in Sanskrit. So sambramat rama kilopetya karam rurodate. Trapa jushosmat prutukam baladatha pragrihya mushtau sakridashite tvaya kritam kritam nanviyate te sambramat rama kilopetya karam rurodhate.
प्रपाजुषोऽस्मात् पृथुकं बलादथा प्रगृह्य मुष्टौ सकृताशिते त्वया कृतं कृतं नन्वियतेति सम्भ्रमाद् रमाकिलोपेत्यकरं रुरोधते प्रपाजुषोऽस्मात् पृथुकं बलादथा प्रगृह्य मुष्टौ सकृताशिते त्वया कृतं कृतं नन्वियतेति सम्भ्रमात् रमाकिलोपेत्यकरं रुरोधते.
त्रपाजुषोऽस्मात् पृथुकं बलादत् प्रगृह्य मुष्टौ सकृदाशिते त्वया कृतं कृतं नन्वियतेति सम्भ्रमात् रमाकिलोपेत्य करं रुरोदते. त्रपाजुषोऽस्मात् पृथुकं बलादत् प्रगृह्य मुष्टौ सकृदाशिते त्वया कृतं कृतं नन्वियतेति सम्भ्रमात् रमाकिलोपेत्य करं रुरोदते.
Stanza 7. Bhakteshu bhaktena samanitasttvaya purim vasanneka nisham mahasukam bata paredyurdravinam vinayayau vichitra rupastava khalvanugraha. So Sudama then spends that one night at Dwaraka, right in Krishna's palace, having a grand feast, sleeping in Krishna's, big palace and everything, and he's very, he feels like he's attained heaven. He says this, he feels like this is heaven, right? Because that is how everything was. So the next morning, Sudama decides to leave early in the morning, and he doesn't open his mouth asking for anything. I think all through sprinkled in this Dasakam are tips of how to live, right? So first, tips of lessons for us, right? So one is, the time has to come, because like his wife says, in the beginning, like I was telling in last class, he says when Sudama asks why you didn't tell about this later, she says, because the time was not there. I never knew that you could go to Krishna. Only now Krishna thought about you, so I felt like telling you, right? That was one. Two is when Sudama goes there, he felt like he had no access, he got access. Then here, third, even though he's so destitute and so poor, he doesn't open his mouth and ask for anything, right? So the next morning he leaves, right? He says bye to Krishna. Krishna drops him at the entrance, at the exit, and Sudama then he leaves. Then as he's walking, Sudama is thinking to himself, he's saying, what punyam I must have done. He says the king, the Lord himself, who's there in the form of Krishna, along with Rukmini, they have so much money, they have so much wealth and everything, but still he took me inside the house amongst everybody who was there. He himself washed my feet. Rukmini himself took care of me. They served me all of these things. He says, I don't know what bhagyam I have done, right? And then with that, he's thinking and he's going back. And Bhattaripat says, even though he didn't say anything, you also, Krishna, didn't offer him anything. He says that is Vichitra Rupam. The Anugraham you give to people are very Vichitra. Nobody can understand why certain things happen, right? And that's what was happening to Sudama here. So Bhakteshu Bhaktena sa Manitas Tvaya, Purim Vasanneka Nisham Mahasukham Bata Paredhyur. So you say that word together. Bata Paredhyur Dravinam Vinayayau, Vichitra Rupas Tava Kalvanugraha. Bhakteshu Bhaktena Samanitastvaya Purim Vasanneka Nisham Mahasukham Bata Paredhyur Dravinam Vinayayau Vichitra Rupas Tava Kalvanugraha.
भक्तेषु भक्तेन समानितस्त्वया पुरीं वसन्नेकनिशा महासुखं बता परेद्युद्रविणं विनाययौ विचित्ररूपस्तव कल्वनुग्रहः भक्तेषु भक्तेन समानितस्त्वया पुरीं वसन्नेकनिशा महासुखं बता परेद्युद्रविणं विनाययौ विचित्ररूपस्तव खल्वनुग्रहः
भक्तेषु भक्तेन स मानितस्त्वया पुरीं वसन्नेकनिशां महासुखं बता परेद्युद्रविणं विनाययौ विचित्ररूपस्तव कल्वनुग्रह भक्तेषु भक्तेन स मानितस्त्वया पुरीं वसन्नेकनिशां महासुखं बता परेद्युद्रविणं विनाययौ विचित्ररूपस्त्व कल्वनुग्रह
Graha. This is a visarga there. Okay.
Kalvanugraha.
That's 8. Yedihyaya chishyamadasyadachyuto vadami bhadyam kimite vrajannaso twadukti leelasmitamagnadif punaha kramada pashyan manidi pramalayam. So he's also continuing to think, that, listen, I could have easily gone and asked Krishna. I could have just said one sentence to Krishna saying that I need money, and Krishna would have conferred so much wealth on me, right? But he said that is not the right thing, because Krishna, if he is not given something to me, that means Krishna feels that it is not right for me to have that, right? Because if maybe Krishna must have felt that if I have excess wealth, if I get more wealth than I can handle, that means I'm now going to start going into wrong ways, and I'm going to get over my head, and I'll stop remembering him. I'll start remembering God. So maybe that's why Krishna did not give me any money. So he doesn't go ask for anything. He says, if Krishna felt it was right, he would have given it to me. He didn't give, that means he felt it was not right for me to have it, right? So with that, he keeps walking back. So he's fine. But then he's thinking about his wife, because he has to now go meet his wife, right? So his wife sent him specifically to say, go ask for money and get some money for us, right? And he's wondering, what am I going to tell my wife when I actually go back home? So when he enters into his town, and there suddenly he sees, where his house used to be, he's seeing a big mansion there. And then he's seeing a lot of people standing there, a lot of well-dressed people, guards and everything, and the palatial structure out there. And then he keeps thinking to himself, did I I'll kind of compare, say 8 and 9 together. So he keeps wondering, did I come to a wrong house? Did I come to a wrong address? Because it is a massive palace. Then suddenly he sees his wife, Kalyani, coming in very well decked, right? He's never seen her wearing so many ornaments and all these clothes. All his children were well clothed. And when he saw that, and then Kalyani comes out, then he realizes, and she says, I don't know what you did, right? But amazing, great job, right? Because we had absolutely nothing. And now we are like, we have so many things, and she was feeling so overwhelmed. And then that's when Sudama realizes that, Krishna knew what was in his mind, and he didn't have to go ask Krishna. So I think that is a lesson, right? If there is somebody who's so powerful and great, who knows everything, then you are kind of, what you call, you're insulting them by going and asking for something, right? Because if they are able to give it to you, they also have the strength to know that whether you need it or not, right? So if you don't get it, that means God feels you don't deserve to have it at this point. There's a reason for that, right? That's why he kept quiet, and then he realizes all because of what happened to Krishna, and then he remembered what Rukmini said when Krishna was about to take the second mushti of saying, "This is enough. This is going to feed the whole world." So he felt that was a blessing that he and his wife finally got because of Krishna's wish, right? So then the important thing was, as it says in the last stanza also, is he continues to remain in his same way. That is the most important, right? So the moment we get wealth, it's very easy to get distracted, but Kuchela Sudama realizes that, that whatever he got is because of the Lord, and he has to continue to stick to his own way. So he continued to live that way, and finally he attained liberation with the Lord as well. So yadi hyaya chishyam, so it's a half ha and a ya, hyaya chishyam adasyat achyuto. You can break it into three parts. Hyaya chishyam adasyat achyuto, comma, badami bharyam kimiti brajannasau, comma, twadukti leela smita magna dhihi, put a f, magna dif punaha, comma, kramada pashyan mani deepram alayam. Yadi hyaya chishyamadasyadachyuto vadami bharyam kimite vrajannasau twadukti leela smita magna dif punaha kramada pashyan mani deepram alayam.
यदि ह्ययाचिष्यमदास्यदच्युतो वदामि भार्यां किमिति व्रजन्नसौ त्वदुक्तिलीलास्मितमग्नदीः पुनः क्रमादपश्यन्मणिदीप्रमालयम् यदि ह्ययाचिष्यमदास्यदच्युतो वदामि भार्यां किमिति व्रजन्नसौ त्वदुक्तिलीलास्मितमग्नदीः पुनः क्रमादपश्यन्मणिदीप्रमालयम्
यदि ह्ययाचियम् अदास्यदच्युतो
Adasyat achyuto.
यदास्यच्युतो वदामि भार्यां किमिति व्रजन्नसौ त्वदुक्ति लीलास्मितमगन्धिः पुनः क्रमादपश्यन् मणिदीप्रमालयम्.
And the third line, magna, it's a half ga, magnadif punaha.
Magnadif punaha. Okay. Yadi ह्ययाचियम् अदास्यद् अच्युतो वदामि भार्यां किमिति व्रजन्नसौ त्वदुक्ति लीलास्मित् मग्नदीः पुनः क्रमादपश्यन् मणिदीप्रमालयम्.
Kim marga vibhramsha iti brahman kshanam, comma, griham pravishtaha, put is pravishtas sa dadarsha vallabham sakhi paritam mani hema bhushitam, comma, bhuboda cha tvat karunam mahadbhutam. Kim marga vibhramsha iti brahman kshanam griham pravishtas sadadarsha vallabham sakhi paritam manihema bhushitam bubodha chatvat karunam mahadbhutam.
किम्मार्गविभ्रंश इति भ्रमन् क्षणम् गृहं प्रविष्ट सददर्श वल्लभां सखी परितां मणिहेमभूषितां बुबोध च त्वत्करुणां महाद्भुताम् किम्मार्गविभ्रंश इति भ्रमन् क्षणम् गृहं प्रविष्ट स ददर्श वल्लभां सखी परितां मणिहेमभूषितां बुबोध च त्वत्करुणां महाद्भुताम्
किं विभ्रंश इति भ्रमन् क्षणं गृहं प्रविष्टः स ददर्श वल्लभां सखी परितां मणिहेमभूषितां बुबोध च त्वत्करुणां महाद्भुतां किं विभ्रंश इति भ्रमन् क्षणं गृहं प्रविष्टः स ददर्श वल्लभां सखी परितां मणिहेमभूषितां बुबोध च तत्करुणां महाद्भुतां
Tvatkaruna. Fourth line.
त्वत्करुणां.
Once again. Saratnashalasu vasannapi swayam tamunnam. Sorry, could it complete question?
I don't think you explained this verse.
Yeah, in the when I told the story, the stanza, that's what is happening. He sees the house, his wife is there, all of that. So what I explained is 8 and 9 combined meaning.
Okay.
So inge kim marga vibhramsham, he's wondering, have I lost my way? All of that is happening. Dadarsha Vallabham is seeing his wife, and then he says Tvat Karuna Mahadbhutam. That's when he realizes that your grace that you have is Mahadbhutam. It's because of your grace that all of this happens. Just kind of 8 and 9 close together. So stanza 10. Saratnashala suvasannapi swayam samunnamad bhakti bharo mritam yayo Tvameva vapurita bhakta vanchito marutpuradhisha haraswame gadan. This also kind of said that because of although he got the money, his devotion towards the Lord continued to grow, right? That was also extremely important. He did not lose direction from that, and eventually he attained liberation. So he says, Bhattacharya says, O Lord of Guruvayur, there's various different ways in which you fulfill your devotees' wishes, various different means by which you fulfill. Similarly, please take care of my ailments and diseases as well. Sa ratna shalasu vasannapi swayam, samunnamad bhakti bharomritam yayau Tvamevam apurita, if you want to break it, Tvamevam apurita bhakta vanchito, marutpuradhisha haraswa me gadan. Saratnashalasu vasannapi swayam samunnamad bhakti bharo mritam yayo Tvamevam apurita bhakta vanchito marutpuradhisha haraswa me gadan.
सरत्नशालासु वसन्नपि स्वयं समुन्नमद्भक्तिभरोऽमृतं ययौ त्वमेव मापूरितभक्तवाञ्छितो मरुत्पुराधीश हरस्व मे गदान् सरत्नशालासु वसन्नपि स्वयं समुन्नमद्भक्तिभरोऽमृतं ययौ त्वमेव मापूरितभक्तवाञ्छितो मरुत्पुराधीश हरस्व मे गदान्
सरत्नशालासु वसन्नपि स्वयं समुन्नमद् भक्तिभरोऽमृतं ययो त्वमेव मा आपूरित भक्तवाञ्छितो मरुत्पुराधीश हरस्व मे गदान् सरत्नशालासु वसन्नपि स्वयं समुन्नमद् भक्तिभरोऽमृतं ययो त्वमेव मा आपूरित भक्तवाञ्छितो मरुत्पुराधीश हरस्व मे गदान्.
Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Okay, then we'll go on to 88, which is also another beautiful chapter. It is Santana Gopalopakyanam.
Rajesh,
Yeah.
question.
Mm.
So, just instead of Guruvayur, why is he saying Marut Puradisha all the time?
See, when the Guruvayur is Guru and Vayu, right? So Marut is referring to wind.
Maru is what?
Wind. Maruta,
Oh,
wind.
okay.
So sometimes sometimes referred to as the land of wind, or or so Annala he kind of mix Guru. Sometimes he says Vayu, Marut. So Annala he uses either of those words for Guru Vayu. That's it. Stanza. It's okay. So Santana Gopala Package. This one is, there are multiple stories which are going to come in there. I think there are 3 or 4 different stories, but there's one core essence of story which comes in the middle of the core of the chapter. So in the chapter you may have to mark properly and keep, because a lot of stanzas, the tunes change till at least the first half because of different chandas, right? Stanza 1. Praghe vacharya putra hriti nishamanaya sviya shaksunu viksham kankshantyā maturuktya sutala bhuvi balim prapyate narchitastvam धातुशापाधिरन्यान् वितकशिपुभवान् शौरिजान् कंसभग्नान् आनीयैनान् प्रदर्श्य स्वपदमनयताः पूर्वपुत्रान् मरीचेः. So this Santana Gopala, is one form of the Lord, right? Like you have this form which is then Guruvayur is different. Similarly, Santana Gopala is a form where his worship is considered as the form of the Lord where he blesses people for either to have children or to bless your children. There are different theories around that, right? And the reason for that is in this chapter, there are multiple places where Krishna comes and rescues children, or mothers and mothers' children, right? So that's why this is very widely, when people are pregnant or things like that, they say you keep hearing Santana Gopalopakyanam, right? Because it will be very helpful for your child, for your labor and everything. And if you all happen to go to Cochin, there is a Purna Trayeshwara temple in Cochin where the Lord is in the form of Santana Gopala, right? You can see the form of the Lord in that particular form in Cochin there. So this story, as it starts here, long Mahabharata war and all is all done, right? So you have to kind of get that context. All of that happens in 85 or 86. In the 86 it happens. So Mahabharata war is all done. So now Devaki, if you remember, Devaki is meeting with Krishna and Balarama one day and she says, what, I heard that at one point in the past, both of you recovered your guru's son, right? If you remember the 76th chapter which we did, it's a Gatwa Sandi Panimata. When Krishna and Balarama went to Sandi Pani, they learned, and then the guru's wife asked as a Dakshina, go bring my lost child. So Krishna and Balarama went and got the child back, right? So Devaki refers to the story and says, and I think I had given you all a hint there that this is going to come later and I'm going to tell you the story about it, right? So there, so Devaki goes and says, you recovered your guru's child, but I lost 6 of my children, right? She says, I want to see my children, right? The 6 of the children which I've lost. And she also asks, how is it that, why did I lose 6 children? Why did it has to happen to me? We all ask that question. Why does it happen to me, right? So she asked, why did those 6 children take birth? And why did they all die immediately? What pavam did I do for that to happen, right? That is a question Devaki asks to his mother. Very fair, right? Mother is asking to the son and says, I want to see my children also. So now in Santana Dharma, once a person is dead, they cannot come back to life. Okay, that is always fixed. So there are a couple of instances where the person is brought back in front of somebody else, and one of them is in this instance. We're going to see another instance where Chitraketu, that's going to happen, but that doesn't mean the person is brought back to life, right? All that is Mahayogis, of course Krishna and Narada and other people, they can go locate that soul and bring that soul back in a particular form. And I'll say this sentence because it's going to come later, so I will break the kind of surprise here. In the Chitraketu's Dasakam, that soul will come and ask, who are you, to its parents? Because it says, yeah, you might have been my parents at some point. I don't know which janmam you are my parents. That's what the soul says. So the point there is, once the soul has left the body, it has no connection to that body. That is something you have to be super clear. So here, Krishna and Balarama, they then go to Sutala. So if you remember in the Mahabali episode, Krishna says to Mahabali, you go rule over the Sutala region, and then in the next Manvantram, you are going to become the Indra. So Krishna goes to Sutala, where these 6 souls are there still, right? They have moved on, right? And now he goes and he brings all those 6 souls in some form. So he gives them the form of the child when they were born to Devaki. and just shows it to Devaki. That doesn't mean those souls have come back. Okay, he just shows the form of those 6 souls to Devaki. The souls are not brought back to life in this body or anything, right? And then he tells the story that they were Purva Putran Marichehe. They say in the first, Satya Yugam, Marichi had 6 children. And those 6 children were very devoted, and they used to always pray. And they were, of course, the Satya Yugam, everybody used to be always praying and doing things. However, these 6 children of Marichi one day ridiculed Brahma. So, Brahma then cursed them, saying that you are all going to be born as Asuras. So what happens is Hiranyakashipu has one son Prahlada. He then has another son called Kalanemi. So this again, I said this word Kalanemi during the Kamsavadam. So this Kalanemi is there. This Kalanemi has 6 children. Okay. So Hiranyakashipu, Prahlada, of course, you all know the story. He said, I'm not going to worship Hiranyakashipu, I'm going to worship Narayana. So that story happens. Kalanemi loved his father Hiranyakashipu. However, his 6 children, who are the Purva Putran Marichi's children, were all doing great tapas underwater, and they refused to worship Hiranyakashipu. And Hiranyakashipu was upset at Kalanemi that you are not able to control your own sons. Your sons are disrespecting me, right? Tell them to stop worshipping Narayana and worship me, Hiranyakashipu says. And Kalanemi is not successful. And so the 6 grandchildren continue to do tapas to Narayana and everything. So Hiranyakashipu curses Kalanemi, saying that you are going to take birth to kill those 6 children because they are not listened to you. You could not do anything in that Janma. So this Kalanemi, that's why in the 75th chapter, when Kamsa is killed, so Bhatripat says, this Kalanemi, you still have that Krishna's Vasane from you. Because in the 29th chapter, Kalanemi gets killed by Mahavishnu. When after that the ocean churning, all that happens, to that Kalanemi, the 6 children are born. So these 6 children had just very little karma left in them, right? For Kalanemi to get rid of them. That's all. So they were born. Kamsa, who was Kalanemi's incarnation, he had to close that loop on it because of the curse Hiranyakashipu had given. So he had gotten rid of those 6 children. So Krishna tells Devaki, you should not lament, saying that why those 6 children were born to me and why they died. They had their own journey. Right? They were to be born for a very small period of time and had to go through the birth and had to be killed at the hands of Kalanemi. That's why they were born. And you just happen to be a good person for whom they were being born for this to happen. Because how else will Kamsa kill 6? It was all kind of connected. So don't think that you are unfortunate that 6 children were born to you and you lost 6 children. It had nothing to do with you. Those 6 children had a journey that they had to fulfill here. So that's what Krishna comes and explains here too. And then after that, those 6 children get liberated and then they merge into you, right? So that's the story Krishna explains to Devaki here. So that all of that is condensed into like 4. I know I said a long story, but that is the essence of this stanza. So Prage Bacharya Putrahriti Nishamanaya, Swiya Shat Sunuviksham, Kankshantyam Maturuktya, Sutala Bhuvi Balim Prapya Tenarchitas Tvam. Prage Vacharya Putra Hriti Nishamanaya Swiya Shat Sunuviksham Kankshantyam Maturuktya Sutala Bhuvi Balim Prapya Tenarchitas Tvam.
प्रागेवाचार्य पुत्रा हृतिनिशमनया स्वीय षट्सूनुवीक्षां काङ्क्षन्त्या मातुरुक्त्या सुतलभुवि बलिं प्राप्य तेनार्चितस्त्वं प्रागेवाचार्य पुत्रा हृतिनिशमनया स्वीय षट्सूनुवीक्षां काङ्क्षन्त्या मातुरुक्त्या सुतलभुवि बलिं प्राप्य तेनार्चितस्त्वम्
प्रागेवाचार्य पुत्राहृति निशमनया स्वीय षट् सूनु वीक्षां काङ्क्षन्त्या मातुरुक्त्या सुतलभुवि बलिं प्राप्य तीनार्चितस्त्वं प्रागेवाचार्य पुत्राहृति निशमनाया स्वीयषट् सूनुवीक्षां काङ्क्षान्त्या
அந்த இடத்துல வந்து just ing sound காங்ஷந்தியா
काङ्क्षन्त्या मातुरक्त्या स्थूलभुवि बलिं प्राप्य तेनार्चितस्त्वं
yeah.
तेनार्चितस्त्वं
धातुः put a ish धातुष शापात् धीरन्यान्वित कशिपु भवान् comma शौरिजान् कंस भग्नान् put a in at the end of the line कंस भग्नान् comma next line the na becomes a ani yeinan pradarshya swapadam anayataha comma purva putran marichehe धातुशापाधिरन्यान्वितकशिपु भवान् शौरिजान् कंसभग्नान् आनीयैनान् प्रदर्श्य स्वपदमनयथाः पूर्वपुत्रान् मरीचेः
धातुशापाधिरण्यान्वितकशिपु भवान् शौरिजान् कंसभग्नान् आनीयैनान् प्रदर्श्य स्वपदमनयताः पूर्वपुत्रान् मरीचेः धातुशापाधिरण्यान्वितकशिपु भवान् शौरिजान् कंसभग्नान् आनीयैनान् प्रदर्श्य स्वपदमनयताः पूर्वपुत्रान् मरीचेः
धातुशापात् हिरण्यान्वितकशिपु भवान् शौरिजान् कंसभग्नान् आनीयैनान् प्रदर्श्य स्वपदं न्यताः पूर्वपुत्रान् मरीचेः धातुशापात् हिरण्यान्वितकशिपु भवान् शौरिजान् कंसभग्नान् आनीयैनान् प्रदर्श्य स्वपदं न्यताः पूर्वपुत्रान् मरीचेः
and the swapadam anayataha the fourth line
स्वपदं
and the third line shapad hiranyan is the right word but because the da is coming shapad right that hiranyan becomes dhiranyan okay that's just a sandhi rule so shapad dhiranyan with
okay
so we'll just switch just see Vasanta garu you can be a student and Meenu you can be a student stanza 2 श्रुतदेवैते श्रुतं द्विजेन्द्रं बहुलाश्वं नृपतिं च भक्तिपूर्णं युगपत्वमनुग्रहीतु कामो मिथिलां प्रापिततापतैः समेतः So at that time there's a Dvijendram. Indram means one who's a king. Dvija means one who's twice born, which is a Brahmin. So Dvijendram means one who's a king of Brahmins. Doesn't mean he's a rich Brahmin. He just means who follows the principles in the right way, right? So that person, Dvijendra. So there was a person called Shrutadeva who lived in Mithila, so Nepal area. And at that time he was very devoted. And there was also a king who was also living in that area. So that person, the king, whose name was Bahulashwa, that's why second line it says Bahulashwam. So Bahulashwa was that, and even though he was a king, he was also very dedicated, very religious, used to follow the right things, right, and have all of that stuff. So both of them were very devoted to you, Krishna. So one day you decided to pay a visit to both of them, to Mithila. And Krishna did not go alone. He actually, along with them, in Bhagavatam, it says how Shuka Brahman went, Narada went, Markandeya went, and we'll see Markandeya Charitram in 97th chapter. So I'll tell about that story. But anyway, so all of them also end up going, and they all accompanied you, and they go to Mithila to meet these two people. Shrutadeva iti Shrutam Dvijendram, Bahulashwam Nripatim cha Bhakti Purnam Yugapat Tvam Anugrahitu Kamo, Mithilam Prapita Tapasaihi, put is Tapasai Sametaha. Shrutadeva yete Shrutam Dvijendram Bahulashwam Nripatim cha Bhakti Purnam युगपत्वमनुग्रहीतु कामो मिथिलां प्रापित तापसैः समेतः।
श्रुतदेव इति श्रुतं द्विजेन्द्रं बहुलाश्वं नृपतिं च भक्तिपूर्णं युगपत्वमनुग्रहीतु कामो मिथिलां प्रापित तापसैः समेतः। श्रुतदेव इति श्रुतं द्विजेन्द्रं बहुलाश्वं नृपतिं च भक्तिपूर्णं युगपत्वमनुग्रहीतु कामो मिथिलां प्रापित तापसैः समेतः।
श्रुतदेव इति श्रुतं द्विजेन्द्रं बहुलाश्वं नृपतिं च भक्तिपूर्णं युगभक्त्वम् अनुग्रहीतु कामो मिथिलां प्रापित तापसैः समेतः। श्रुतदेव इति श्रुतं द्विजेन्द्रं बहुलाश्वं नृपतिं च भक्तिपूर्णं युगभद्रमम् अनुग्रहीतु कामो मिथिलां प्रापित तापसैः समेतः।
Stanza 3. गच्छन् द्विमूर्तिरुभयोर्युगपन्निकेतम् एकेन भूरि विभवैर्विहितोपचारः अन्येन तद्दिनभृतैश्च फलौ धनाद्यैः तुल्यं प्रसेदित ददात च मुक्तिमाभ्याम्. So, when Vijaya or Vasanta come from St. Louis, or when Srividya comes from Dallas to Chicago on September 10th for the Narayaneeyam, so we'll all invite them to our house, right? Multiple people invite. So they have to now pick whose house do I go stay in, right? So they'll say, who is going to give me the best food, right? So that's what most of us think, right? So here Krishna goes to Mithila and both of them have invited them. So whose house is Krishna going to go, right? And one of the house, it says Bhuri Vibhavai. Now, Bhuri doesn't mean the Puri. It means multiple varieties of food. So the king, of course, is a king, right? So he's having multiple varieties of food laid out with all the paraphernalia and welcoming, everything is arranged. However, the Dvijendram, he has Tad Dina. He is a Brahmin, so he has to go collect alms. Whatever food he got that day as collections, that's all he has to offer. He doesn't have any money to go buy. So those are the two choices, right, that is there in front of Krishna. However, Krishna, everybody is equal. So because both of them were devoted, it says, Krishna, you took two forms that day and you went to both people's house at the same time, because for you, both of them were equal. It doesn't matter whether somebody is giving more or somebody is giving less. It is the intent, right? So that is what he says. It's not like he preferred even the Brahmin more, because even the king was very devoted. Now, the only reason Bhatripad has the story, or the story even comes in Bhagavatam, is to again re-emphasize, saying that you don't have to go beyond your means. You just do whatever you can, right? Whatever you offer, just offer. That's the whole purpose. This whole story is also there in Bhagavatam, only to explain that concept to everybody, right? So anyway, so Krishna, you then go to both our houses and then you bless both of them equally, right? No partiality. Both of them get equal blessings from you and they both get liberated eventually. So Gachan Dvimurtir Ubhayor Yugapan Niketam. So put a in there, Niketam, comma. Next line, the Mekena becomes Ekena. Ekena Bhuri Vibhavair Vihitopacharaha Anyena Taddina Britaischa Phalaudanadhyaihi. So Visarga at the end of that line, comma. Next line is goes away. Tulyam Prasedita Dadata Cha Muktimabhyam. Gachan Dvimurtirubhayoryugapaniketam ekena bhuri vibhavair vihitopacharah anyena taddina bhritaischa phalaudanadhyaihi tulyam prasedida dadata cha muktimabhyam.
Gachan vimurtirubhayoryugapaniketam ekena bhuri vibhavairvihitopacharaha anyena taddina bhrutaischa palaudanadyaihi tulyam prasedita dadachata muktimabhyam. Gachan vimurtirubhayoryugapaniketam ekena bhuri vibhavairvihitopacharaha Anyena taddina bhrutaischa phalaudanadhyaihi तुल्यं प्रसेदित ददाचत मुक्तिमाभ्याम्
गच्छन् उभयोर्युगपन्निकेतम् एकेन भूरिविभवैर्विहितोपचारः अन्येन दद्दिनभृतैश्च बलौधनाद्यैः तुल्यं प्रसेदित दधात च मुक्तिमाभ्याम् गच्छन् द्विमूर्तिर्उभयोर्युगपन्निकेतम् एकेन भूरिविभवैर्विहितोपचारः अन्येन दत्तिनभृतैश्च बलौधनाद्यैः तुल्यं प्रसेदित ददात च मुक्तिमाभ्याम्.
And support. भूयो तद्वारवत्यां द्विजतनयमृतिं तत्प्रलापानपि त्वं को वा दैवं निरुन्ध्यादिति किल कथयन् विश्वबोढाप्यसोढाः जिष्णोर्गर्वं विनेतुं त्वयि मनुजदिया कुण्ठितां चास्य बुद्धिं तत्त्वारूढां विधातुं परमतमपदप्रेक्षणे नेति मन्ये. So from here, completely different story starts. So, like I said, Mahabharata war and all is over, right? So Krishna is in Dwaraka, everything is going fine in a very prosperous region at that time. And that's what eventually what will happen is Dwaraka becomes so prosperous, and anytime something attains such a level of prosperity, then people start getting distracted. That eventually leads to its downfall. But anyway, at this point, everything is going fine. And however, there was one Brahmin there. That Brahmin, so couple of children, when a child was born, the child dies immediately for him, first time. Then he comes to Krishna and says, what is happening? You are the ruler, right? So if you are not ruling properly, all bad things happen to everybody in that kingdom. So he says, you have to do something. So Krishna says, I'm not able to do anything. It says, Kova Daivam. It's like, it's all God's fate, right? He says, second child is born. Second child also dies instantly. So third child is born. Third child also dies instantly. So when this happens, every time this Brahmin is coming to the court and leaving the dead child there and telling what is happening, you have to help out. It's because of you that is all this is happening. And every time Krishna is like, I'm helpless, right? And then everybody starts talking about it. Something is wrong, the ruling, maybe Krishna, they're doing something wrong. And what happens at the same time is Jishnor Garvam. So Arjuna, when the Mahabharata war got over, Arjuna always felt that Mahabharata war was won because of him. He felt like he's the hero. He is the man of the match, right, of the Mahabharata war. Without him, the Pandavas could not have won that war. And he was having that garvam in him. And, he also keeps hearing about, Krishna, Krishna's kingdom, all these deaths are happening. Krishna is not able to do anything. So he says, but and Bhagavatam says, how can Arjuna forget everything he went through? And it's not just for Arjuna, even for us. When things are going fine, we think it is because of our capabilities. If things are not going fine, we then immediately are comfortably able to blame, saying, it's because of God's blessings, not having blessings, things are going bad. But things are going good, it's because of I worked hard, right? Similarly, Arjuna also, despite going through all these things and Krishna helping him so many times, he suddenly got the pride in him after the Mahabharata war, saying he's very strong. And because of him, all these things happened. And he started treating Krishna like a friend. And also Krishna is Arjuna's friend, and Krishna, of course, is also Arjuna's brother-in-law. So they, of course, have multiple relationships that way, but he forgot Krishna's true power. So here Bhattacharya says it's only to probably teach Arjuna the pride that he was having and to eliminate him. A certain set of events are going to be happening later on, because he says one who can lift the whole world. It's very easy for you to save some children from dying. It's very easy if you want it, right? So anyways, that's what is happening so far. Bhuyota dwaravatyam, dvija tanaya mritim tat pralapanapi tvam, kova daivam nirundhyaditi kila kathayan, vishwa vodhapya sodhaha. Bhuyota dwaravatyam dvija tanaya mritim tat pralapanapi tvam kova daivam nirundhyaditi kila kathayan, vishwabodhapya sodhaha.
भूयोऽथ द्वारवत्यां द्विजतनयमृतिं त्वत्प्रलापानपि त्वं को वा दैवं निरुध्यादिति किल कथयन् विश्ववोढाप्यसोढाः भूयोऽथ द्वारवत्यां द्विजतनयमृतिं तत्प्रलापानपि त्वं को वा दैवं निरुध्यादिति किल कथयन् विश्ववोढाप्यसोढाः
भूयोदद्वारवद्यां द्विजतनयन्मृतिं तत्प्रलाभानभिध्वं को वा दैवं निरुद्यादिति किल कथयन् विश्ववोढाभ्यसोढाः भूयोदद्वारवद्यां द्विजतनयमृतिं तत्प्रलाभानभिध्वं को वा दैवं निरुद्यादिति किल गतयन् विश्ववोढाभ्यसोढाः.
On the second line, nirundhyat. This is in sound. Kova daivam nirundhyat.
Nirundhyat.
Jishnor garvam vinetum, comma, tvayi manuja dhiya kunthitham chasya buddhim, comma, tattva rudham vidhatum, comma, parama tama pada prekshaneneti manye. Jishnor garvam vinetum त्वयि मनुजधिया कुंठितां चास्य बुद्धिं तत्वा रूढां विधातुं परमतमपद प्रेक्षणे नेति मन्ये.
जिष्णोर्गर्वं विनेतुं त्वयि मनुजधिया कुण्ठितां चास्य बुद्धिं तत्त्वारूढां विधातुं परमतमपदप्रेक्षणे नेति मन्ये. जिष्णोर्गर्वं विनेतुं त्वयि मनुजधिया कुण्ठितां चास्य बुद्धिं तत्त्वारूढां विधातुं परमतमपदप्रेक्षणे नेति मन्ये.
जिष्णोर्गर्वं विनेदुं द्वयिमनुजतया कुण्ठिताञ्चास्य बुद्धिं तद्वारूढां विधातुं परमतमपद प्रेक्षणे नेति मन्ये. जिष्णोर्गर्वं विनेदुं द्वयिमनुजतया कुण्ठिताञ्चास्य बुद्धिं तद्वारूढां विधातुं परमतमपद प्रेक्षणे नेति मन्ये.
Third line, त्वयि मनुज धिया, the sound.
त्वयि मनुज धिया.
Yeah. Stanza 4-5. नष्टा अष्टास्य पुत्राः पुनरपि तव तूपेक्षया कष्टवादः स्पष्टो जातो जनानाम् अथ तदवसरे द्वारकामापपार्थः मैत्र्या तत्रोषितोऽसौ नवमसुतमृतौ विप्रवर्य प्ररोधं श्रुत्वा चक्रे प्रतिज्ञामनुपहृतसुतः सन्निवेक्ष्ये कृशानुम्. So these children keep dying, and then Nashta Ashtasya Putraha, 8 children have now died, right? And this Brahmin also continuously keeps coming to Krishna and saying, please help me out. And Krishna says, I can't help, it is fate, right? And this keeps on going. And of course, such things, when there's one bad thing, it automatically amplifies, right? So the whole region, they keep talking about what is Krishna as a king, right? He's not able to save this Brahmin's child. 8 children have died. And what is the king doing? King is not doing anything about it. I don't know how the king can help, but they feel the king is responsible, right? So all this is happening. And that was the time Arjuna happens to visit Krishna in Dwaraka. Because like I said, brother-in-law, friend, all of that stuff, right? So Arjuna is visiting, and then he is also at the height of his pride. So at this time, then he sees one day, and Arjuna and Krishna are resting. He again sees this Brahmin running and coming. And the Brahmin comes and says, my 9th child has died, right? And then he's crying and lamenting, and Krishna says, I'm helpless. And Arjuna is like, how can you be so helpless? Like, you are the ruler. You are supposed to take ownership here. And you're supposed to help out. And Krishna says, I can't do anything. So Arjuna then goes and talks to that Dvija. And he says that, what, I will help you out, right? He says, it's my responsibility that the next child that is born to you is not taken away or dead, whatever, however you want to go. Because what happens is the child is born, they hear the child's sound, and then it's very loosely says child disappears or the dead. So we don't know exactly what's happening there, right? So Arjuna says, I will come and protect it. So at the time, this Dvija says, what do you mean? Like, we have Krishna here, we have Pradyumna here, we have Aniruddha, we have all these great people here. And none of them are able to volunteer because they know it is impossible. Even the Brahmin knows that. He says, how can you, Arjuna, commit to this? So, he says, I don't believe you. That's what the Brahmin says. Arjuna says, you don't believe me? If the next child is born and it's dead, I will, and if I'm not able to save it, I am going to jump into the fire and kill myself. That's the vow that Arjuna actually takes here. So, Nashta Ashtasya Putraha, comma, Punarapi Tava Tu Pekshaya Kashtavadaha Spashto Jato Jananam, put a ma, make it a im there, Jananam, comma, Atha Tadavasare Dwarakamapa Parthaha. Nashta Ashtasya Putraha Punarapi Tava Tu Pekshaya Kashtavadaha Spashto Jato Jananam Atha Tadavasare Dwarakamapa Parthaha.
नष्टा अष्टास्य पुत्राः पुनरपि तव तूपेक्षया कष्टवादः स्पष्टो जातो जनानाम् अथ तदवसरे द्वारकामापपार्थः नष्टा अष्टास्य पुत्राः पुनरपि तव तूपेक्षया कष्टवादः स्पष्टो जातो जनानाम् अथ तदवसरे द्वारकामापपार्थः
नष्ट अष्टास्य पुत्राः पुनरपि तव दूपेक्षया कष्टवादः स्पष्टो जातो जनानाम् अततदवसरे द्वारकामापपार्थः नष्ट अष्टास्य पुत्राः पुनरपि तव दूपेक्षया कष्टवादः स्पष्टो जातो जनानाम् अततदवसरे द्वारकामापपार्थः
Maitriya Tatroshitosau, comma, Navama Suta Mritau Vipravarya Prarodham, comma, Shrutva Chakre Pratignyam, you can break it that ma Pratignyam Anupahrita Sutaha, comma, Sannivekshe Krishanum. Maitriya Tatroshitosau Navama Sutamritau Vipravarya Prarodham Shrutva Chakre Pratignyam Anupahrita Sutaha Sannivekshe Krishanum.
मैत्र्या तत्रोषितोऽसौ नवमसुतमृतौ विप्रवर्यप्ररोदम् श्रुत्वा चक्रे प्रतिज्ञामनुपहृतसुतः सन्निवेक्ष्ये कृशानुम् मैत्र्या तत्रोषितोऽसौ नवमसुतमृतौ विप्रवर्यप्ररोदम् श्रुत्वा चक्रे प्रतिज्ञामनुपहृतसुतः सन्निवेक्ष्ये कृशानुम्
मैत्र्या तत्रोषितोऽसौ नवमसुतमृतौ विप्रवर्यप्ररोदम् श्रुत्वा चक्रे प्रतिज्ञाम् अनुबहृतसुतः सह सन्निवेक्ष्ये कृशानुम् मैत्र्या तत्रोषितोऽसौ नवमसुतमृतौ विप्रवर्यप्ररोदम् श्रुत्वा चक्रे प्रतिज्ञाम् अनुपहृतसुतः सह सन्निवेक्ष्ये कृशानुम्.
Meaning on the fourth line, Anupahrita Sutaha. You're saying an extra is.
Oh, Anupahruta Sutaha.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And the is adika marnu poita. Yeah. Instead of is, there is ha, right? Yeah.
Visarga is there. Yeah. Stanza 6. Manishattvama prishtva dvijanilaya gato banajalair mahastreihi rundhana suntigeham punarapi sahasa drishtanashte kumare yamyamaindrim tathanyah suravara nagarir vidyaya sadhya sadhyo mogo dyogah patishyan hutabuji bhavata sasmitam vadito bhut. So Arjuna, he says, while I may not be Krishna, Pradyumna, or Aniruddha, he says, I am Arjuna, I am the wielder of the Ghandiva bow. So I know how to take care of these things, right? That's what he says. So he stays in Dwaraka for a while. So now when the 10th child is about to be born, so this Brahmin ahead of time is coming and now telling Krishna, Arjuna, my 10th child is going to be born anytime now, right? He's giving that forewarning. So Arjuna, who for all these years has not done a single thing without asking Krishna or without Krishna's help, now decides it's time for him to go show how he can protect it that Krishna cannot, right? So he then goes with the Gandiva bow and then he constructs a big kind of like a, what do you call, a protection or a wall, right? Along with, like it says here, Bhana Jalair Mahastraihi, with all the astrams that he has, the missiles and divine weapons he has, he constructs a complete shield around the Sutigehe, around the house where the delivery is going to happen, where the labor is going to happen. He completely protects it so that nothing can go out of that place or nothing can go in either, right? So then the 10th child is born. The 10th child is born, they hear the child crying, and then suddenly the child is gone. So like I said, I don't want to use the word dead here because it'll have different implications later on in the story. So the 10th child is gone, right? So when that is gone, then the Brahmin comes to Arjuna and see, I told you, no, even Krishna says not willing to help. Somehow you feel like you can help, and see what happened. Even the 10th child is also gone now, right? So that is even hurting us even more. So Arjuna says, let me go find out. So Arjuna also has a lot of yogic power. So he says he goes. So this chapter, you have to kind of imagine, you have to kind of go beyond the earth itself, right? A lot of things are going to happen. So Arjuna goes to multiple other worlds, it says. He takes his yogic power, goes to multiple other worlds looking for the child, saying where that child is. And he's not able to locate the child at all, any of the 10 children. So finally, he comes back after a long time, giving up. And then he sets up the fire. And then when he then does all his prayers, everybody is there waiting. When he's about to jump into the fire, then Krishna holds his hands at that time. Just like it happens in the movie. Just when you're about to happen, Krishna holds his hand and says, don't jump. I'll show you where the children are, right? And that's what happens in this stanza. So, Manisa Twama Prishtva, Dvija Nilaya Gato, Bana Jalair Mahastraihi. If you don't have a visarga, put it at the end. Mahastraihi, Rundhanaha, put is Rundhanas Sutigeham, Punarapi Sahasa Drishta Nashte Kumare. Mani Satvama Prishtva Dvijanilaya Bana Jalair Mahastraihi Rundhanas Sutigeham Punarapi Sahasa Drishta Nashte Kumare.
Mani Satvama Prishtva Dvijanilayagato Banajalairmahastraihi Rundhanasutigeham Punarapi Sahasa Drushtanaste Kumare. Mani Satvama Prishtva Dvijanilayagato Banajalairmahastraihi Rundhanasutigeham Punarapi Sahasa Drushtanaste Kumare.
Mani Sattvama Brashtva Dvijanilayagato Panajalair Mahastraihi Rundanasudikeham Punarapi Sahasa Drishtanashte Kumare. Mani Sattvama Brashtva Dvijanilayagato Panajalair Mahastraihi Rundanasudikeham Punarapi Sahasa Drishtanashte Kumare.
Yam Yam Aindrim Tathanyaha, Suravara Nagarir, Irsound, Nagarir, Vidyaya Sadhya, one word, Vidyaya Sadhya Sadhyo, Mogo Dhyogaha, put a F, Mogo Dhyogaf Patishyan Huta Bhuji, Bhavata Sasmitam Varito Bhut. Yam Yam Aindrim Tathanyah Suravara Nagarir Vidyaya Sadhya Sadhyo Mogo Dhyogaf Patishyan Huta Bhuji Bhavata Sasmitam Varito Bhut.
Yam Yam Aindrim Tathanyah Suravara Nagarir Vidyaya Sadhya Sadhyo Mogodhyogah Patishyan Hutabhuji Bhavata Sasmitam Varito Bhut. Yam Yam Aindrim Tathanyah Yam Yam Aindrim Tathanyah सुरवरनगरीर्विद्यया साध्य सद्यो मोघोद्योगः पतिष्यन् हुतभुजि भवता सस्मितं वारितोऽभूत्।
यां यामैन्द्रीं दधान्याः सुरवरनगरीर्विद्यया साध्य सद्यो मोघोद्योगः पदिष्यन् हुतभुजि भवता सस्मितं वारितोऽभूत्। यां यामैन्द्रीं दधान्याः सुरवरनगरीर्विद्यया साध्य सद्यो मोघोद्योगः पदिष्यन् हुतभुजि भवतो सस्मितं वारितोऽभूत्।
Bhavatha in the fourth line. I think second time you said bhavato. No? Bhavata sasmita.
Bhavatha.
We'll see if we can squeeze one or two more. I doubt two, but Sardham tena pratīchīm dishamati javina syandanena bhiyato lokha lokam vyatitaha timira bharamato chakradhamna nirundhan chakram shuklishta drishtim sitamata vijayam pashya pashyeti varam pare tum pradadarshaha kimapi hi tamasam dhura dhuram padam te. So then Krishna then holds Arjuna's hand and he says, you come with me. I'll take you to where these children are. And then it says they get on some aerial craft that Krishna has, which then starts going in the westwardly directions. And it goes for a really long distance. Now, I think this is a concept of, time and space, because eventually when they come back, after all this, and I'll tell you at the time, you have to understand the speed at which they're going. And maybe in the next class, we'll cover that. So they keep going, and they're going so far that they cross this region called as Loka. So in Bhagavatam, in the description of the universe, there is a boundary called as Lokam, Alokam. So kind of that is the place which is like the divider between the known universe, where there are things, and then there is a nothingness which comes after that. So Lokam means where there is things, where there are planets and worlds and everything. Then Alokam means where there are no planets and nothingness. It's just empty space. So that boundary is called as Lokam. So they keep going and they keep crossing that boundary of worlds versus nothingness. And when they go there, it is absolutely pitch dark. Nothing can be seen. So at that time, Krishna then is, the Sudarshan Chakram is there, because of which they are now able to see. So when they now start seeing and they keep going even further, long distance, and when they start going, then they're seeing this area which is so bright and so illuminated that Arjuna is not able to open his eyes. That's how brightly lit it is. So at that time, Krishna says, Pashya Pashyedi. He says, Krishna says, look ahead. He says, that is this Brahma Jyoti or the Vaikuntha set of planets which are there. And we'll see where the location of the Vaikuntha planets are there when we do the next session, right? Which comes in the 5th, 6th, 7th chapter when the world gets created. So they are seeing this brightly lit area where it is, everything is absolutely bright, and they begin to approach into that area of brightness. From complete darkness, they go into this complete brightness, which is Tava Padam, which is your abode. So I think the one other clarification here is, there is a portion of the world where once you go, you cannot come back. That Vaikuntham exists, which nobody can go. Only certain people can go in and out. And we'll see who those are all much later. Then there is like what is called a Karana Vaikuntham, which is a place where certain people can go and come back also. So that is the place they are going. So that is still, it's a different Vaikuntham. It's kind of, you have male Tirupati and Kil Tirupati, right? People who cannot go to the top, you have an accessible place. So similarly, there is another Vaikuntham like that, which is where they end up going. So Sardham Tena, Pratīchīm Dishamati Javina Syandanenabhiyato, Loka Lokam Vyatitaha. So that is there, remove it, put a comma, Visarga comma, Vyatitaha. Timira Bharamato Chakra Dhamna Nirundhan. Sardham Tena Pratīchīm Dishamati Javina Syandanenabhiyato Loka Lokam Vyatitaha Timira Bharamato Chakradhamna Nirundhan.
Sardham Tena Pratīchīm Dishamati Javina Syandanena Bhiyato Loka Lokam Vyatitaha तिमिरभरमथो चक्रधाम्ना निरुन्धन् साधं तेन प्रतीचीं दिशमतिजविना स्यन्दनेनाभियातो लोकालोकं व्यतीतः तिमिरभरमथो चक्रधाम्ना निरुन्धन्
सार्धं तेन प्रतीचीं दिशमतिजविना स्यन्दनेनाभियादो लोकालोकं व्यदीददः दिमिरपरमतो चक्रधाम्ना
Nirundhan.
निरुन्धन्
And the Sardham Tena, the first line after Tena, there is a pause. Okay.
Huh?
The first line, la Sardham Tena, and then there is a pause after that. Comma after that.
सार्धं तेन प्रतीचीं दिशमतिजविना स्यन्दनेनाभियादो लोकालोकं व्यदीददः तिमिरपरमदो चक्रधाम्ना निरुन्धन्
Chakramshu Klishta Drishtim Sthitamata Vijayam. After that, put a comma. Sthitamata Vijayam, comma. Pashya Pashyeti Varam, and then put a plus. Pare Tvam Pradadarshaha, and then a comma. So one comma after Vijayam in the third line. Continuous Pradadarshaha, comma. Kimapihi Tamasam Dura Duram Padamte. Chakram Shuklishta Drishtim Sthitamata Vijayam Pashya Pashyeti Varam Pare Tvam Pradadarshaha Kimapi Hitamasam Dura Duram Padamte.
चक्रां शुक्लिष्टदृष्टिं स्थितमथ विजयं पश्य पश्येति वारां पारे त्वं प्राददर्शः किमपि हि तमसां दूरदूरं पदं ते चक्रां शुक्लिष्टदृष्टिं स्थितमथ विजयं पश्य पश्येति वारां पारे त्वं प्राददर्शः किमपि हि तमसां दूरदूरं पदं ते
चक्रां शुक्लिष्टदृष्टिं स्थितमतविजयं पश्य पश्येति वारां पारे त्वं प्रातदर्शः किमपि हि तमसां दूरदूरं पदं ते चक्रां शुक्लिष्टदृष्टिं स्थितमतविजयं पश्य पश्येति वारां पारे त्वं प्रातदर्शः किमपि हि तमसां दूरदूरं पदं ते
Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. Allowed to continue, but unfortunately we have to stop. So we'll end the class here and see what they end up seeing in the next class. Sandhanandhavabodhatmakamanupamitam kaladeshavadebhyam nirmuktam nityamuktam nigamashata sahasrena nirbhasyamanam aspashtam drishtamatre punarurupurushartatmakam brahma tattvam tattavad bhati sakshat guru pavanapure hanta bhagyam jananam kahena vacha manasendriyerva buddhyatmana va prakrite swabhavat करोमि यत्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Just a quick announcement. So, like those who have not registered for September, please register as soon as possible. Vasanta Garu, Vijaya, Sujata from Toronto, I expect all of you to be there. Don't worry about staying and all that. You know, all of that can be taken care of. We only do this full Narayaneeyam only once a year. We've been doing it for a few years now. So this year, this is this event, right? It's very difficult to organize a full event like that. So try your best, right? And you can come the previous day on the 9th, right? Stay through Ekadashi also on that day. 10th, you finish it, and then you can leave that evening as well. And there are a bunch of, for people coming from St. Louis, there are like Danya is coming, Revati is coming, Srividya might come. So you have few people coming from St. Louis anyway. So
is it connected in your house?
Lila, this is the Grace Lake Temple.
Oh, Grace Lake Temple. I see. Okay.
Yeah. So on the sheet Lapuna, there is I sent a flyer also, right? It's in the Grace Lake Temple. Yeah, so it's really at the temple. Okay.
Rajeshkar, this is posted in the different group, right?
Yeah. So I have this Narayaneeyam community, right, where all the groups are there together. So everybody is there. A lot of you may not be able to comment, but it is posted there, and I'll also send it to the individual groups. I'll send it to this group separately as well. But I had sent one flyer and then one link, an Excel sheet also. So for now, just sign up your name, right? And whether you're there for the first half and the second half or both halves, right? For now. And then we'll open up for prasadam and all that. We'll open it up once we get the full count.
Thank you, Raj.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
Thank
Rajesh,
you.
like every time you have people chanting specific verses, you don't have it this time? Like specific Dasakams?
I want to figure out how many people are going to come and which half they are going to be. So once we get an idea of that, then we'll do the Dasakam assignments, because 100, yeah. So, probably everybody will get 2, but I want to figure out if people are leaving by afternoon, then they'll have to get the chapters in the first half and so on. So
Got it. Okay. Makes sense.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I will try to be
Thank you,
there.
Rajesh.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you.
Bye.